Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Projector and I've been posting a lot of 4-star content on YouTube. I realized that there actually isn't a lot out there and there are a lot of mechanics in these task forces that you don't see anywhere else in the game, and the only time you have to practice them is while trying to do a 4-star or hard mode content. So I wanted to create this as a sort of walkthrough of the Omega Kong fight in the 4-star Lady Grey task force, which is the newest of the hard mode content on Homecoming. So we are on the Homecoming server on Excelsior. This team is being led by Apollo, and these are a lot of players that know what they're doing and have quite a bit of experience playing hard mode content. And all of our builds are actually optimized for 4-star content. And what we mean by that is, you can see actually in my tray, I'm running Clarion, but we have 6 people running Barrier Tier 4 Core Barrier. That's the one that lasts longer. It's up the left side of your Incarnate tree. And we have them split up into 4 different teams. So Team 1 Barrier is typically the team leader and 1 other person. Then there's Team 2, which is 2 more people with Barrier. And then there are 2 individual flex barriers. And so what'll happen is we'll usually start with a Team 1 Barrier and a Clarion, and then the team lead tracking their own barrier's cooldown, because Barrier has a 2-minute cooldown, will use that as a reference point to every 30 seconds call for the next barrier. So you'll hear Team 1, then you'll hear a Flex 1, then you'll hear a Team 2, then you'll hear a Flex 2, and that repeats. I don't have Discord audio in this video specifically because I'm actually going to walk you through the Omega Kong fight, the different stages of it, and what it looks like from the tank's perspective. As the tank has a very, very important role in this as trying to keep Dra'Gon from killing your entire team. So, opening this up we are in the hospital, which is right next to the room that Dra'Gon spawns in. So this is mission 3 of Lady Grey, where you free Infernia and Glacia. Right after you free Glacia in her little intersection area in the cave, you're going to turn left and you're going to zoom, and instead of going all the way into Dra'Gon's room, you'll see a tiny little tunnel door open on the right. You click that, and now you're in the hospital. It is important to note that this hospital is not active until the Kong fight starts. So if you die in hospital at any point before Kong, either Delta or Omega, is summoned, you will actually end up leaving the mission altogether. So keep that in mind. One last point about the optimized builds. It means that all of these builds are optimized for DPS. They are not optimized for survivability because Barrier keeps your survivability. And as long as people are calling their barriers, it is relatively easy to stay alive. And that's also why you have a couple healers, because there are things in this game that can damage you regardless of where your defenses and resistances are. So this build as well is modified for maximum DPS, and everyone else is here as well. There's a few colds on the team. There is a fire blaster. Looks like there's an ice blaster here as well, and a kinetics. So these are typically, and then a nature. There's probably, yes, there is a nature on this team as well. So nature and kin are the heals. Cold domination are additional defense buffs for the team, plus debuffs for the enemies. And then I have a tank, and then obviously 2 DPS, straight up DPS blasters. So let's get into this. I keep everything centered on my screen because I have ADHD, I have a wide screen, and it is really helpful for me to be able to just see all of my information pretty centered in front of me. So we are buffing up here, and then we are going to, we're going to get in-canned after he calls for a Team 1 and a Clarion. There it is. And then you're going to see Underlord run out, and he's going to in-can us onto Dra'Gon. All right, so I'm going to pause here. So in this specific run, We actually accidentally freed a psychic early. You can't free any psychics. So then we had to log out. Everyone had to log out so the mission would reset. And then we did it again. And then as we started the fight, we freed we freed this hostage mob over here. We aggroed them. And just before we killed them, a assault suit exploded and team wiped us, which actually saved the run, because if we had freed a psychic, then we would not have gotten the Omega Kong fight. So we got really lucky. However, that also meant that a lot of the ads that are usually in this room, ads being additional enemies, were not actually here at the time that we incanned in. So typically this incan is a lot spicier, it is a lot hotter, and a lot more threatening. This is actually where a lot of people will die off the bat. And you'll notice my lures are on cooldown because we died the first time that we had to reset the first time that we came in, unfortunately. So we're doing this sans lures in the first part of the fight. Now, our goal here, looking at this room, when you incan into this room, there usually be a lot more ads, but the first thing that you want to look out for are identifying where the hostage mobs are. Because as long as you don't free these, you will get the Omega Kong fight. Sometimes they will spawn behind you in these front corners of the room, but currently we are lucky they're in front of us here. As a tank, my first job is to grab Dra'Gon's attention. Normally, I would actually just use my targeting macro, but I don't need to because he's literally right in front of me. I can just click him, and you're not going to fold space. You are not going to you're not going to use any huge AoEs, no big judgments if you can avoid it. Something like an Ion Judgment can actually ruin the run as well. And it is important to note that once Kong spawns, there is no going back. The timer begins in the mission, and there's no resetting it, to my knowledge. I've not run into the situation yet, but I'd rather not find out anyway. So now that we know this, I'll continue on with the video, and let's take a look at how this plays out. So I step away and I grab Dra'Gon's attention. And now what I want to do is, I went too far forward because I'm in mini mode, but ideally I would have him facing the entryway. So I would have him facing this way, and that way my team could circle around behind him. It is really important that you keep Dra'Gon facing away from the team at all times. He has cleave and a couple other AoEs that really, really hurt and can kill your team even through barriers. So you're actually going to see, now that I've got him facing the red corner, and you can see these all have different colors: purple, blue, red, and yellow. So I'm going to have him facing the red corner, and our job here, without freeing any of the psychics, is to bring Dra'Gon down to 75% health, and then you'll see Kong spawn. Now you'll see the first thing that's happening here is there is a priority target. We all stay hugged on Dra'Gon. Because barriers are up, for every other character, you'll actually see in their combat stats, their range defense, as long as barrier is up, is capped at 175%. And you'll see the resistance is capped as well. Once this number drops below about 130, 125%, people start taking damage really quickly. If you've hit that point, it's pretty much too late. And so calling barriers, if you are the person calling it, make sure A, that your team won, and B, make sure that you call them about 5 seconds earlier than you need to. So like at a minute 35, a minute 36 or so, because that gives the person time to both hear you, process the information, stop whatever animation they're in, or finish it, and then actually hit their barrier. If you call it at 30 seconds or later and there's any delay, your barriers are going to be off. You need to be hitting barriers to keep those defenses up and those resistances up. Now, you are seeing a little bit of target prioritization from Underlord. He is attacking this Chief Magus. Maguses can ruin your day. Krakens can ruin your day. There's a lot of enemies that can still ruin your day. War priests as well. They will heal and cause problems for you. It is really terrible luck when there are war priests in the hostage mobs. So we got lucky here that there were not. So you can see the majority of the team is behind him or to the side, which is great. And we just play this fight out. And this is pretty simple. Like, fight him, kill him. Underlord comes behind me at this point and gets really lucky that Dra'Gon's not hitting any melee attacks yet and not hitting super hard. But he still does take some damage, you can see. So you can see me now. That was really good from me, and I'm not just tooting my own horn here, but so the reason this was good, I recognized that Underlord was on top of me. I saw him taking damage, so I immediately shift and face him to the back of the room. This is so that everyone else stays behind him, and now Underlord is safe as well. So my job as the tank is to mind everyone's positioning as much as I can, and try and keep them safe by keeping the aggro facing away. One thing that's really important as well is that you have your options under Windows and Reticle, that you have show villain names and show villain health bars set to show always so that you can track HP. This becomes incredibly important a little bit later on. All right, so Kong spawns, and he'll spawn directly in the middle. The vultures start coming out, and this is where you see gas pressure in the nav bar up top. And our job right now is, while Dra'Gon and Kong are standing on each other, we want to stack as much damage on both of them as quickly as possible. Eventually, Kong will jump to a corner of the room, but for our sake right now, we are going to attack both of them, and then for the rest of the fight at that point, we will split off and only be fighting Dra'Gon. So once Kong spawns, you can kill the rest of the room, you can free all the psychics, it doesn't really matter, as long as Kong is up. So now that he's up, you'll see they immediately get Psi protected, a Psi protector primate appears, and I have a primate targeting macro as well. There are so many enemies in this room that you will often see them fade in and out of view. And just because of rendering issues, it is a 20-year-old game. But just be patient and look for that, because Dra'Gon and Kong do not take damage while they are Psi protected. So we are looking to fold space in and bring in any of these monkeys that we can. Spanky runs out this way. Really a dangerous thing, especially as the kin. And this is not criticizing players specifically. This is more so, generally speaking, I'm going to point out things that I do that are wrong as well, because we want to make sure everyone stays safe and knows what to do. Not everything in a video that you see should be replicated. So you can see there's a Psi protector here. You can identify it by the golden beam. If you are the tank, you can taunt, and it should stay pretty close, and it should stay with the group. If you are unable to find it, then trust your team to find it, or your team leader to find it, and then everyone can target through them to kill the primate. You want to do this fast because their regen is high. In fact, Kong has more HP than Hamadin does, like full strength Abyss or Hive Hammy. So Kong has a ton of HP and super high resistances and super high defenses. So Dra'Gon is your main target because their health is linked. If you kill one, you kill the other. So Psi Protector, I got it targeted, I taunted it in. It's dead, so now they're both taking damage, and now I'm back on Dra'Gon. I'll probably get criticized for clicking on my powers. Part of why I do it is it keeps my eyes looking down here for when my particle shielding is back up, and I make sure I'm not just cycling through my attack chain blindly and not using it. Sometimes I still miss it, and it is what it is. You can also see here that I'm going to miss I hit Clarion right when he calls Team 1, so I'm waiting for it. All right, so now that we've got Dra'Gon down to about 80%, you now see Kong jump away. And this is where the fun roulette game starts. Our job is to keep Dra'Gon as far away from Kong as possible and keep him out of whatever corner of the room that Kong jumps into. Because Kong will spawn a bunch of gas in his corner of the room that will kill you instantly, and there's no getting out of it. There's no jumping out of it other than being teleported out of it or waiting for it to pass. So bear that in mind. All right, so he chooses that corner. I pick the opposite. I pick red. And now I just pick the corner, and I have Dra'Gon face it. I have him face away from the team. And now I'm tracking to see where all of my teammates are. This is really... I get that show villain names and show villain health bars feels like it ruins the immersion of the game. This kind of content is hard enough that I would recommend doing this anyway. This isn't really about immersion. This is more so something that was created for the skill and challenge that it takes to actually beat it. So it's okay that it's a little immersion breaking to play this out right, but I would highly recommend you do this so you can track where key enemies are and so that you can see where your team members are too, showing their names. So again, my job is just to keep Dra'Gon facing away. So he called another barrier. You see our defenses shoot back up. Looks like that was Flex 1 that just went out. And we're just damaging him down at 75%. You are going to see, and I believe it just happened. Yep. So once you hit 75%, the first reinforcement wave comes, and that is going to be the Chief Maguses. The Chief Maguses do hit hard. They can wipe your team regardless, as well as all of this monkey gas and everything else. So we are going to fold space all of the Maguses in, and typically what's going to happen is the team will target through the leader or whoever the leader says to in order to kill all of the Maguses as quickly as possible, and then as well as a Psi Protector Primate so that we can resume the damage on Dra'Gon. Occasionally, if you have a high enough DPS team, you can just ignore the Maguses and let the AoEs kill them while you continue to focus Dra'Gon. So in that case, your order would be Primate, and then right back on Dra'Gon and let the Maguses die to AoE. But typically at this phase of the fight, you're going to kind of pause the DPS occasionally on Dra'Gon if you don't have a lot of DPS so that you can quickly spike the Maguses. And it is, again, really important that you stay hugged on Dra'Gon specifically because that's where the kinetics heals are coming from. It's also important that you stay grouped because nature's heal is a cone, and it's really hard to aim that correctly if everyone is spread out. I can't heal everyone if I'm a nature and you are spread out and too far away to get the heals. So it is important that you stay tight enough to still get both heals at all times. There's only one situation in which that's not the case, and that's right when we have to move from corner to corner. So he's Psi protected. My job as the tank is to still keep targeting and taunting Dra'Gon. If I am able to get a Primate, great. I don't see it in that specific instance. I don't believe. I just didn't notice it. I was focused on Dra'Gon. So right there, you saw the first instance of Kong. After he summons his gas, he will do another jump. And then he spawns on top of us. You have, I think, 5 seconds to get out of this, but I haven't timed it specifically. My preference as a tank is to always go clockwise. I don't like saying go right. I don't like saying go left because everyone is facing a different direction. If I say go right, I'm facing the opposite direction as the rest of my team. So they'll go to blue and I'll end up going to yellow. You can call out the colors specifically as long as everyone knows that those platforms do actually have colors. Not everyone notices. I didn't notice it for the first like 5 or 10 times I did 4-star content, or 4-star Lady Grays. So I like to say we are going to go clockwise, always clockwise. And that way, everyone, it's always predictable. There's another reason as well. And that is, as the tank, Kong, even though he spawns the gas in his corner, is still launching attacks at your team. And if you are across, so if I had taken my team and said, hey, let's go over here to pink, I am now too far out of range for my taunt to hit Kong. So if I go over here instead, I will actually still be in range that occasionally I can target Kong and I can bring him back to, bring his focus onto me instead of my team. So you're going to see me combat teleport. I have a macro that targets it to my cursor, so I don't have to click it. I don't have to aim it and then click again. I just point my cursor somewhere. And you can see right here, I point my cursor and then, in case you couldn't see that, I point my cursor and I hit combat teleport. As the tank, combat teleport is incredibly important because Dra'Gon also has combat teleport and he will follow you. If you use a regular teleport, that animation time will actually have you hover, and then Kong will actually combat teleport to you and stay high up as well. You want him low to the ground as possible. And so making sure that combat teleport really, really helps you control Dra'Gon's attention and control his own combat teleport as well. You can see we still have a Chief Magus in here. We probably have a couple. Yeah, see there's one here as well. This is the one that's being focused down at the moment. And so we just continue the fight as much as possible while trying to avoid Kong. And so the Kong thing means that we all have to move. So we call for a move. We move clockwise. I make that call as the tank because the team has to follow where Dra'Gon goes. It's the only way they stay alive, considering the kinetic seals. So they all move over. I hit my combat teleport. He follows me. We did use an incan, so Underlord did incan. This is really good, especially in the first phase of the fight when everyone is warming up to it. It's also good because you get the healing buff. So that's really, really massive, the buff to healing to keeping your team alive, especially when everyone has just split up. So I got incanned. I have my TP prompt off, so I immediately jump up into the corner. The Chief Magus also combat teleports over, and this is the wall of gas that you don't want to die in. So I would highly recommend you stay out of this, all of that, stay out of it. You will die pretty much immediately. Okay, fight resumes. You're still popping AoEs as much as possible, keeping the gas pressure low for the Rikti Vultures. That gas will kill you as well. Still looking for a side protector primate whenever possible. There's one right there. He jumps in. I did not see him. Unfortunately, I was too focused at this exact moment of trying to keep him facing away from my team. But that's okay. They're targeting the Maguses anyway. And this is where it sucks. Like, this is where the health bars and names suck. You can't really see much, but you don't need to see so much as you just need to understand positioning. I can tell that my team is around him, except for Jackal. And unfortunately, right after the gas drops, Kong jumps on us again. So I'm going to combat teleport. You see my cursor here. They all went across. However, I want it to be straight for the exact same reason that I just went over. So they're all going to regather on me. And now you see where the danger comes. If it comes at a really poor time, our defense is down because we just had to move, and it happened right around the threshold of a barrier call. And so here's where you start to see people struggling, including me. Notice that Spankia did not go to the hospital, which is where this door is. He immediately res using an Immortal Recovery. This is important. If you are a barrier especially, it's important. But you need to get back up. If you're dead, you're not doing DPS. We can't buff you. We can't do anything. And so it's important that you keep trying to get up when you die. We get him up. We get barriers fired off. And now he's back in it. Colds are trying to reapply buffs. Maguses are dead. Primate is dead. We continue the damage, and you see me target. I have Kong targeted currently. I hit my taunt, and then I go right back onto Dra'Gon. He jumps again. Now he lands on the other corner. We're safe. We continue on with the fight the way that it needs to. We leave the Primate, the Psi Protector Primates alone. The only times that Dra'Gon gets Psi Protected is at 75%, 50%, and 25% health. So we leave those Psi Protectors alone so that they're available for us when the time comes. Otherwise, we have to wait for one to appear atop a barrel. So now it's just a matter of benumbing him on cooldown, using my Melt Armor on cooldown, attacking as much as possible. Looks like defenses are starting to drop. And so people are dying. We get them back up. If people are dying a lot, you're not doing enough DPS to kill Dra'Gon, unfortunately. Oh well. Kong is in the far corner. Fight continues on. Now, I do want to point out there's a strategy I learned, a tactic I learned that does take quite a bit of team coordination to pull off correctly and still only buys you a few extra seconds of damage. But right after Kong hits his gas, once it wears off and you see the gas wall dissipate, you can, for a brief moment, you can combat teleport onto Kong's corner. Dra'Gon will follow you. And now you can actually stack damage on both of them, just like you did at the first part of the fight. You can do this. And it also guarantees that you'll be in a safe corner when Kong jumps, because he always jumps to a different corner. He never stays in the same corner twice. So if you have the right coordination, I would recommend this strategy. Your tank needs to be on it. Your whole team needs to be on it to take full advantage. But moving to the corner where Kong just was, or is a good option as well, provided that Kong's still there when you move. We keep fighting, and I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. He jumps to us. I missed my combat teleport, and I run back over. We get another incan because it's back up. And now I run over to grab Dra'Gon's attention and keep him focused to the corner. I do want to pull him to the corner, so you see me try and get him over as much as possible, because if I need everyone on my team to be behind him, then if he's right up against the gas, my team is threatened. So getting him as close to the corner as possible is really, really important. Fight continues, and I'm going to skip now to 50%, or to when we get into about 50%. We keep the jumping. That cycle continues. All right, we are almost to the next phase of reinforcements. We hit a DPS wall, plow through it. All right, now we're at the suits. Cool. The suit is the hardest part of this fight, in my opinion. And I'm going to tell you why. So right at 50%, Dra'Gon and Kong get a wave of reinforcements. This includes 4 assault suits. If you know the assault suits up to this point, when they explode in the star mode content, they will leave a neural field. It's a small or a medium-sized purple bubble that if you step into, first you get terrified and held, regardless of your mez protection. Secondly, it drops your defense and your resistance down by basically the exact amount that barrier gives you. So it's guaranteed death, pretty much. So this is the hardest part of this fight because you need to, as a team, determine where those assault suits explode. So you have to kill them with enough timing to also get away from them. They do tend to chase pretty quickly. If someone uses fold space again, then they are particularly susceptible to fold space. But they also can and may teleswap you, which is also really sucky when that happens. So the suits are going to spawn. So we got 4 suits, 1 on each corner. We're going to fold space them to our corner. And I got moved out of position right there. So that was my biggest mistake. I jumped too far. And Dra'Gon followed me. And now he's all the way up here. And so is our source of healing. This was probably my biggest mistake of this fight that I can think of right now. Because now he's way out of position and he's not going to combat teleport again for a minute. So I have to drag him to me while my team is fighting the assault suits. Typically, the goal of the assault suit is we are going to, the team lead, my job is to ignore them as a tank. My job is to ignore all the ads as a tank. I only care about managing Dra'Gon's aggro and keeping him near the team. So, and then the Psi Protector, if I see it and can taunt it, that helps too. So the job for the team right now is we're going to pick an assault suit. Everyone's going to try and attack it. And then right as it's about to die, we are going to move to a different corner. That's ideally the goal, is right as it's about to die, we move to a specific corner, and then we spike it so that it dies far enough away from us that the bubble isn't an issue. So it ran a bit away. I taunted it, and I move over because I'm trying to actually keep the assault suits as close into this corner as possible. I don't want them spread out because I don't want those bubbles spread out all across the battlefield. So I run over, I do a couple taunts and try and bring them in. All right, so we have our first assault suit that's about to blow up. Apollo made the call for us to move. We move, we spike, and now the bubble is over here. You can see the edges of it right there. And now the same thing. I have Dra'Gon's attention. I keep him facing the corner. Now you can see the assault suit. And this is all hard. You have to be making these calls while also be keeping up barriers and keeping your DPS up as well. So we decide to move to another corner. I actually don't remember exactly why. I don't think a suit was about to blow here, but we end up moving to a different corner. We've got 2 or 3 assault suits left. Yeah, so there was one over here. Okay, so let's see where. I think it just wasn't visible on my screen. Oh, no, it's here. It's right here. I'm dumb. So there's an assault suit chilling here, and it's about to blow. We don't want it to rush over to us because of its aggro. So we want to kill it while it's there. So Apollo makes the call for us to run across and spike this assault suit while it is on that side of the room still. We get it. Now we've got 2 overlapping assault suit neural nullification fields. They're right here. We want to stay out of these as much as possible. But see, the goal here is to keep these controlled. We want to determine where the assault suits explode. So we've got another one. We still got a Psi Protector. They're still Psi Protected, which means that while they're Psi Protected, Dra'Gon and Kong are still regenning the entire time this is happening. So it is actually important to kill a Psi Protector as quickly as you can too, because you want all of this AoE, all of these ice storms, these blizzards, these sleets that are doing minus resistance. You want this all to be affecting Dra'Gon as well. So keep that in mind. And yes, Kong is still jumping during this time. I did not realize I had my jetpack on, I don't think. And all of a sudden I rubber banded and then I went too high up. I didn't realize how high up I was here. And so Dra'Gon combat teleports to me. Another mistake on my end. Should not have been flying. I think I was just struggling to get up onto the platform. And so I turned it on. I hit spacebar and did not realize I was as high up as I was. So now I've got to bring him back down. There he comes. We're still on the assault suits. So now one explodes over here. We did not make the call fast enough, and so there's going to be a bit of panic that ensues. But one assault suit just exploded, and there's going to be a neural field right here. So now we have two corners that are unsafe. This corner and this corner. So that's, I believe, blue and purple. So we're going to move to yellow because Kong has red covered in gas. And now you can see immediately people, if they're caught in that field, they die. Jackal's in it. And it looks like he did die and we teleported him out. We've got one suit left. Ideally, that suit does not die in this corner. But it very well might. Or if it does die, it dies closer to the center of the room so that we're still able to actually fight in the corner. But Kong's about to jump. The suit dies in the middle of the room, and now we do still have this area free. People are dying, so we're trying to get back up as quickly as we can. We are trying to keep DPS up. It is really important as well to keep toggles to a minimum, because every second that you're having to retoggle when you die, you are also losing out on DPS. So barriers on their own give you the defenses, and the buffs will help, those defenses not drop as much when there's holes in barrier. You also have things like Demonic or Eye of the Magus as an accolade that gives you plus defense as well. That can be used in a pinch if one of the barriers is dead, or one of the barrier users is dead, or there's a gap in timing. Spankia died in the neural field, unfortunately. So he can't get up while he's there. So someone has to either teleport him or wait. He tries to get up. It looks like he may actually get out of it. Nope. Dies again immediately. So you can see how bad that is for... you can see how bad that is. Like, don't get in a neural field ever in a 4-star. In a 1-star and a 2-star, you can survive it. But you have to steer clear of the assault suit, and the trick to doing it is you get it down as low as possible, and then you jump away and spike it as you move away so that it blows up away from your team. All right, I've got Dra'Gon back in this corner now. That assault suit's neural field took up the entire corner, unfortunately. So now we've got two corners that are unsafe until those neural fields dissipate. Really, we've got 3 because there's another one in that far corner too. So this is the only safe corner. Unfortunately. We did kill a Psi Primate Protector, so we are good on doing damage to him. We don't need to worry about the one that is jumping around. You saw that one just kind of take off because of rendering issues. You see them kind of disappear. Just is what it is. Fight continues as normal. The suits are all down. The neural fields will eventually dissipate and disappear. And I think this one will disappear on blue will disappear right as we need it. Yep, so it disappears there. Kong is going to, if I remember right, Kong is going to actually jump into our corner here, and then we're going to be able to move over to blue safely. Only one safe corner. We all go to blue. I use my combat teleport. Dra'Gon follows. We're in the corner. We're safe. Fight resumes. Notice, everything is capped. For a tank, you have slightly higher caps, so mine will show up as 225. Theirs will show up as 175, but everything is capped, and people are still taking damage. So barrier is not enough on its own, but man, does it help. We're still keeping up DPS. We're still attacking everything that we can. Dra'Gon does take more damage when he's held, so spamming holds is really, really helpful. All the neural fields have dissipated. So now we keep the fight going. Luckily, Kong doesn't choose our corner for a bit. And the fight is just this cycled over and over and over again. Oh, actually, we have lures out, so let me go over the lures. Okay, so we realize that we're about to have lures up. And the call is made that we want to bring them back out. So in order to do this, we wait for the next barrier call. And the way Apollo does this, I tend to agree with this approach, is about 5 seconds before you're going to make the barrier call, everyone needs to summon their lures at the same time. If you do it any later than that, they won't be up in time to receive the barrier. And if you do it any sooner, they'll probably die to all of the aggro around before they're able to do any damage. And so summoning your lures right at, he's going to give the 5-second count. So he just did. We hit summon, set him to attack, and on to, see, you already saw one of mine died immediately. We hit it, and then there's going to be a barrier that goes out, if it didn't already, and we continue the fight. Kong jumps on us. So if you're leading this, the way to resummon your lures in the middle of the fight, if it takes longer than their cooldown and you are able to use them twice, is you want to give a 3, 2, 1, hit lures. You have 5 seconds to hit your lures, and then you want to then make the barrier call immediately afterwards, as close to that as possible. I would recommend that you do give a countdown, because if someone is stuck in an animation, if you just say lures now, if someone's stuck in a long animation, there's nothing they can do about it. My ground 0 animation is 3 seconds long. If I do that, then I can't summon my lures in time. If you just say, use lures now. One caveat to lures as the tank is they can steal aggro away. So you need to be on your game taunting to make sure the aggro stays on you the entire time. So we get lures back out. They're staying alive. We are almost through the fight. We've got one more threshold to get to, and that is 25%. Once we're at 25%, the scientists will spawn. The scientists are the easiest to kill. However, if you let them get a portal up, they will summon krakens and tentacles, and those will mess up your day. So you want to still kill the scientists fast. However, as long as you can get them aggroed in, they'll die pretty quickly. And you can just keep your attention on Dra'Gon. So the scientists looks like they just spawned. It's because we just hit that 25% threshold. And the reason I say it looks like they just spawned, this was really quick. I actually very rarely notice the scientists when they spawn because of rendering distance problems, but you're going to see one right there. That is my only hint, other than the fact that there's a psi protected message, because the psi protection only happens at the reinforcement phases of the fight. I saw one scientist, and then someone is going to immediately fold space and and bring it in. So the call is made to find a Primate, keep the AoEs going, kill the Primate, and then you keep focusing all of your attention on Dra'Gon, hitting your judgments, hitting your AoEs as much as possible. Kong jumps. We move. You can see a portal. 2 portals have been summoned. So it looks like we didn't get them fold spaced in time before they were able to get the portals off. But we still want to focus on Dra'Gon. The only big threat to us in this stage, as long as we're avoiding the gas and everything else, the only big threat is the feral krakens that will pop up. And typically the AoEs are enough to take them out, but again, they can ruin your day. So it is okay to pause damage if you need and kill the krakens. I would recommend as much as possible that you stay on Dra'Gon and just finish the fight. It's the final push here. And I want to keep the krakens taunted onto myself. We are almost through. We are almost through. Almost there. And I believe this is the fight that gets me Exalibonk. So that's cool. Which is the cool Hero 1 sword that you get as a result of finishing this fight. Just a random temp power. Yep, there it is. So the fight is over. We did it. Exalibonk appears in my power tray, and we get the mission complete, and we jump out as quickly as possible. So that is the Omega Kong fight walkthrough and play-by-play. I hope this was helpful for you, because there is no way to practice this, unfortunately, other than doing it. But it's just a dance. You're dancing through the corners around Kong and avoiding him. The tank, you have the most important role in aggro management, because you are the first line of defense to keeping your team alive by keeping the aggro focused on you and positioning so that Dra'Gon is facing away. Your team has the responsibility to also be out of his line of sight and behind him, or to far enough to the sides of him that he's not hitting them. If your whole team circles around you, there's not really anything you can do other than try and reposition him slightly and just remind your team that they need to be behind him. But your job is to focus on Dra'Gon even while your team is still attacking Dra'Gon and still focusing down any ads. Really big thing is you don't have to ever fight Kong. So that's cool. The Omega Kong fight is essentially you don't fight Kong, you just fight Dra'Gon. Kong's resistances and defenses are way too high, on top of the fact that there's so many periods that you can't even damage him because of that gas taking up the entire corner. So there it is. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will also have the targeting macros for all of the enemies throughout all the key enemies in the description below as well. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm happy to send over any builds and provide you with any other guidance. This is how we do it on Excelsior. I'm sure there are other strategies and other tactics that people use. I am sure that there are other servers that have had great success doing this and other hard mode content with different builds and different tactics. That's okay. But I wanted to provide the way that we do it and give you a sense of what this fight is, how quickly it can go wrong as well, and how to get out of those situations and where you need to be and what you need to consider at all times. So make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what questions you have as well. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next video.